For centuries, we've been baking cakes in celebration of happy events. We all know about birthday and Christmas cakes, but across Britain, there are local baking traditions that reflect our regional heritage, and nowhere more than Yorkshire. When it comes to baking, I like to look far and wide for inspiration. It's been said that all good things come from Yorkshire. There's Yorkshire tea, Yorkshire pudding, and if we're talking sweet baked treats, that saying may in fact be true.
We eat a lot of cakes in Yorkshire.
I think Yorkshire people like cakes because they like tea, so they like a piece of cake with the tea.
Cake baking is such a big part of life here in Yorkshire. Events are often held that allow locals to showcase and sell their wares, and people come from far and wide to sample them.
The tea loaf's lovely, yeah, with a cup of Yorkshire tea as well.
Yorkshire bracken, absolutely delicious. It's so rich and, oh, it's full of fruit. It's beautiful.
A cup of Yorkshire tea and parkin.
Parkin. Yorkshire parkin has got to be a good cake.
Parkin is a classic Yorkshire cake. It's a sponge made with treacle syrup and spice and is often enjoyed on bonfire nights as a winter warmer. Lottie Shaw runs one of the oldest bakeries in Yorkshire, and parkin is a speciality of hers.
I've been brought up with parkin all my life. My great-grandma, it was her recipe that we've used, and the family have been baking it for over 100 years. When my family first started out in baking, my great-grandma and auntie, they opened a shop together and they used to supply the local barracks and the local mills. In here, we're just going to melt down the black treacle. We've got the syrup and we've got the dark brown sugar and we've got the fats. And then we've got margarine in here. All these ingredients from my great-grandmother's recipe. My family have been baking all my life, really, and so I've sort of grown up with the baking smells, but Yorkshire parkin was always my favourite recipe.
That recipe is still their best seller. Lottie's great-grandmother would have mixed it by hand. Nowadays, they use a mixer that's withstood the test of time.
This is a workhorse. I hate to think how many parkin this actual mixer has mixed for us over the years.
Whilst Lottie still relies on an old workhorse to do the mixing, her modern shortcuts include a dispenser and cardboard baking trays. Parkin is one of Yorkshire's most famous recipes, but there are many more to choose from. This is Betty's Tea Room in Harrogate, considered a local institution for almost a century. It attracts customers from far and wide. Karen Messin has worked at Betty's for the past 13 years.
I think everyone likes to make the excuse to sit down and have a cup of tea, and if it's a Yorkshire thing, all the better. Once I met a man and he'd just come straight from the airport because someone on the airplane had told him to come have a Yorkshire Rascal, so he'd found us on the base of a Yorkshire Rascal in Betty's.
The Yorkshire Rascal is Betty's signature cake. They say it's a secret recipe, but it's a bit like an extra special rock cake. Justin has been making fat rascals for the last 8 years.
I'm not going to tell you everything because I won't give it away, but I'd like to start off with the method of it. So we get salted butter here at the bakery and we cream that together with our sugar. I would then add my flour, then we absolutely jam-pack it full of fruit. So I think this is what makes it really special. We're not sparse with our fruit, we make sure it's absolutely full of fruit and it gives it that awesome colour that it has. Fine, then we add our egg, we'll then hand mould and we put the glacé cherries on, and then with the 3 split almond, I think it gives a cheeky, plump face Yorkshire Fat Rascal. Everyone can enjoy the Fat Rascal. You could eat it as it is, slap a bit of butter on, or you can do my treat, butter, clotted cream, jam. What a winner.
I couldn't tell you the amount of cakes because I'd lose count if I was to try and add them all up, but I do know that we sell over 6,500 Fat Rascals every week, over 300,000 a year. Most people like a little gesture, and they might not come in for a cake, but we'd like to think they'll leave with one.
You can't beat a big, nice slice, Yorkshire portion, of course, of Yorkshire brack.
My favourite Yorkshire baked cake must be the Betty's Fat Rascal.
Well, I like the Yorkshire curd tart. I think that's my favourite.
I think the future's looking bright for cakes in Yorkshire at the moment, yes.
Lottie Shaw, who bakes her grandmother's parkin, is coming round for tea later. But first, I'm going to make a Yorkshire curd tart, which is another famous recipe straight from the Dales. Now I'm going to show you how to make a Yorkshire curd tart. I've never actually made one up until today. It's akin to a custard tart, which we have in Lancashire, Merseyside, but again, we use full milk and we use whole eggs, and again, a little bit of nutmeg, so there are similarities. First, put some curd in a bowl. You can buy curd or even make it yourself, but a lot of good supermarkets will have it now on the shelves, and it's well worth sourcing it out and trying it for yourself. Whisk in some caster sugar and a couple of egg yolks. Begin to break those yolks down into the mixture. It goes in there quite quickly, actually, you can see. It's beautiful, it doesn't split. Look at this, shit goes all over the place. I'm gonna get covered in this, I can see it. Then drop in 2 whole eggs. Whisk that in together. Now it's beginning to slacken down now. You see the mixture looks very eggy at the moment. For a floral kick, add a few drops of rose flavouring. That's really nice there. Don't want to add too much. Again, very traditional in there. It's quite potent stuff. Always reminds me of Turkish delight, actually. Some lemon zest and a few currants. That'll be enough. The rest of it I'm going to put on when it goes inside the tart shell. And some melted butter. Mix that together. And now I'm going to park this mix to one side. For the sweet short crust pastry, start with some plain flour, icing sugar, and butter. Now, if you've got a food processor at home, literally you can just put all the dry ingredients in with the butter and just blitz it literally for about 15-20 seconds and it'll come together. But I like the idea of just getting your hands in there and breaking it down yourself. Get the kids to do it. This is the sort of thing when they come back from school and they've got that little bit of extra energy, get them in the kitchen, give them some butter, give them some flour, and let them turn them into breadcrumbs. Once that's broken down to breadcrumbs, squeeze the juice of a lemon. Helps break down the pastry. Doesn't really impart much flavour into it. You're not adding enough of it for that. Egg yolk and water. I was going to get my hands in there straight away, but I won't. I'm just going to turn it around, incorporate all the flour with the liquid. Keep your water at hand, a little bit more. Mix this all together. Now that, just by giving it a quick spin, has brought the whole pastry together. Finally, knead the dough, chill, and bring back to room temperature. Then it's ready to use. Over here is exactly that. So you manipulate it a little bit more, and then you're going to line your tart shell. Flatten it down with your hand, a little bit of flour, get a rolling pin, lucky turn, and then roll it out. And then get in there and push it and line it all the way down to the bottom. So you're pushing the extra pastry down into the tart case. Get your fingers right into those little grooves on the side and run it all the way around. Make sure it's right inside the corners, it's critical. Blind bake the case with baking beans for about 15 minutes at 200 degrees. You end up with a beautiful shell. And you'll notice also, you see the little fork marks? That just stops it from rising too much. Because you've got the extra egg in there, chances are it's going to want to try and lift. So just pricking the bottom with a knife will just prevent that from happening. Then give the mixture a final stir. Pour it in, drizzle in the currants. The ones that are in the mix, chances are it's just going to sink to the bottom. But these almost act like little floating machines. Grate some nutmeg over the top. Now this is where the similarity is with custard tarts. Then bake at 200 degrees for 25 to 30 minutes. And when it pops out the oven, it looks like that. And you can see the nutmeg on the top, beautiful golden brown on the outside. You see those currants sitting away all over the top as if they're trying to float. That, for me, is a fantastic Yorkshire curd tart. A delicious pudding all the way from the Dales. I'll be treating my guests to a slice later.